Chapter 1. The Boy Who Felt Nothing. Rain tapped softly against the classroom windows as students laughed, whispered, and passed notes. In the back corner sat Cale Voss, motionless, eyes half open, staring at nothing. A crumpled paper ball struck his forehead. No reaction. Another hit his shoulder. Still nothing. "Hey, zombie!" one boy sneered. "You deaf too?" The class laughed. The teacher glanced once, sighed, and returned to the board. Cale lowered his eyes to the desk. He did not feel embarrassed, he did not feel angry, he felt only distance, as if everything happened behind thick glass. At lunch, 3 boys blocked his path in the cafeteria. "Move," Cale said quietly. One shoved him backward. Another dumped milk over his shirt. Students stared. Cale simply picked up his tray and walked away. That night, he returned to a tiny apartment with peeling walls and broken lights. He changed clothes, sat on the edge of his bed, and stared at the ceiling. There was no sadness, no rage, no tears, only silence. Chapter 2. A Punch That Missed. The next evening, Cale crossed an alley behind a convenience store. 3 shadows stepped forward, the same boys. "You think you're too good to react?" one snarled. The tallest swung first, his fist sliced through empty air. Cale had shifted half an inch. Another charged wildly. Missed. The third grabbed a bottle and lunged. Cale leaned slightly. The bottle shattered against the wall. The boys froze. Cale's expression never changed. He wasn't fighting. He wasn't even trying. From across the street, beneath a bus-stop shelter, an older man watched carefully. Marcus Vale, former champion trainer. His sharp eyes narrowed. "That movement," he whispered. The boys backed away nervously. Cale continued walking home as if nothing had happened. Marcus smiled. "I found you." Chapter 3. The Hunter's Eye. The next morning, Cale exited school to find Marcus leaning against the gate. "You move like water," Marcus said. Cale kept walking. "I trained 5 champions." No response. "I can make you rich." Nothing. "I can make you feared." Cale stopped and looked at him. "I don't care." Marcus grinned. "Good. Fighters who care about money, lose. Fighters who care about fear, break. You've got nothing to lose." Cale walked away. Marcus called after him. "Tomorrow, Ironhouse Gym, 6 a.m. Cale didn't answer, but Marcus had spent decades reading people. He knew pain when he saw it, and he knew potential. Chapter 4. The Photograph. That night, Cale searched a drawer for clean socks and found an old photo buried beneath papers. A younger Cale stood beside a little girl with bright eyes and crooked bangs. Meera, his sister. Both of them were smiling. The picture was taken before social workers separated them after their mother disappeared. Cale sat slowly on the floor. For years he had remembered facts, but not feelings. Now something cracked inside him. Warmth, loss, longing. He touched Meera's face in the photo. "I'm sorry," he whispered. The words shocked him. They were real. At dawn, Cale stood outside Ironhouse Gym. Marcus opened the door and smirked. "Took you long enough." Chapter 5. First Step to the Gym. The gym smelled of sweat, leather, and old wood. Heavy bags swung gently in rows, fighters skipped rope, gloves thundered against pads. Cale stood silently. Marcus circled him like a mechanic inspecting broken machinery. Too thin, poor posture, dead eyes. Cale blinked. "But those feet," Marcus smiled. "Those feet are gold." He tossed Cale a jump rope. "Start." Cale caught it awkwardly. "For how long?" Marcus checked his watch. "Until I'm impressed." Hours passed. Cale stumbled, tangled himself, fell twice. Nobody laughed harder than Marcus. "Terrible," he barked. "Absolutely terrible." Yet Cale stayed. For the first time in years, pain had purpose. Chapter 6. Learning to move weeks passed. Kale ran before sunrise, jumped rope until his calves burned, shadow boxed until sweat soaked the floor. Marcus refused to teach punching. Hands later, he said. Feet first. Other boxers mocked him. Pretty boy only dances. Maybe he's scared to hit. Marcus ignored them. One afternoon, he called 2 amateurs into the ring. Touch him, Marcus ordered. They charged. Kale slipped left. One collided with the ropes. The second swung wildly. Kale pivoted behind him. The gym erupted in laughter. Again. Miss. 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 Neither boxer touched him once. Marcus lit a cigar and smiled. Now they understand. Chapter 7. The Joke Fighter. A cheerful lightweight named Benny Cruz bounced into the gym carrying snacks. I heard there's a ghost fighter here, he spotted Kale. You look depressed. Want chips? Kale stared. Benny nodded seriously. Fair enough. Later, Benny entered the ring against Kale. Rule 1, Benny announced dramatically, never underestimate charisma. He rushed forward, slipped on his own sweat, and crashed face first. The entire gym exploded with laughter. Even Marcus nearly dropped his cigar. Benny stood up proudly. Exactly as planned. Kale made a strange sound. Small, sharp, a laugh. Everyone turned. Kale covered his mouth, confused. Marcus looked away, pretending not to notice the tears in his eyes. Chapter 8. The first smile training intensified. Marcus now introduced punching drills. Kale's jab was stiff, his cross awkward. Your fists are unemployed, Marcus groaned. But Kale learned quickly. One afternoon, Benny attempted to coach him. Punch like you're mad at taxes. What are taxes? Kale asked. The gym fell silent. Benny blinked. We need to help this man. Later, Kale landed a clean jab on the bag. Marcus nodded once. Better. Kale smirked. Not a full smile, but enough. That night, he looked into a mirror. The face, staring back, no longer seemed entirely empty. Chapter 9. License to Fight. Kale applied for an amateur boxing license. At the commission office, officials inspected him skeptically. This kid? One muttered. He looks like he skips meals. Marcus placed Kale's training records on the desk. And your heavyweight nephew skips defense. The official coughed. License approved. At the local amateur weigh-in, fighters whispered. That's him? The ghost guy? He's too skinny. Kale stood expressionless. A middleweight rival named Darnell stepped close. You better not freeze when I hit you. Kale looked at him calmly. You have to hit me first. The room went silent. Marcus burst out laughing. Now he's learning. Chapter 10. Debut. The arena was small, but loud. Local fans packed metal bleachers. Lights burned overhead. Kale entered the ring wearing plain black trunks. No music, no pose, no expression. Across from him stood Darnell, muscular and confident. The bell rang. Darnell attacked immediately. Hook. Miss jab, miss right hand, air. The crowd gasped as Kale moved inches at a time, wasting nothing. Second round. Darnell was breathing heavily. He charged recklessly. Kale stepped aside and tapped him with a straight right. Darnell stumbled. Again. Another clean shot. By round 3, frustration had broken him. He swung wildly. Kale slipped under the punch and landed a perfect counter to the chin. Darnell collapsed. Knockout. Silence. Then roaring cheers. Kale stood in the center of the ring, chest rising slowly. Marcus climbed the apron and grinned. How do you feel? Kale looked at the screaming crowd, then at his own hands. Awake!
Chapter 11. Crowd Reaction. The knockout spread across social media by morning. The ghost boxer. He never gets hit. Who is Kale Voss? At school, students who once ignored him now whispered from every hallway. That's him. He knocked a guy out cold. No way. Some stared with fear, others with admiration, a few with jealousy. The same boys who used to torment him avoided eye contact. Kale walked past them without slowing. In class, the teacher paused while handing back papers. "Congratulations on your match," she said awkwardly. Kale nodded once. At Ironhouse Gym, Marcus tossed a newspaper onto the bench. Kale's blurry photo was on the sports page. "You're becoming interesting," Marcus said. "I don't want attention." "No one does," Marcus replied, "until they lose it." That evening, Kale stood outside a store and noticed people glancing at him through the window. For years, he had been invisible. Now, everyone was looking. He wasn't sure which felt worse. Chapter 12. The Hammer Kale's next opponent was undefeated knockout artist Rico Dane, nicknamed The Hammer. Rico entered the ring, flexing for cameras. Kale entered quietly. The bell rang. Rico rushed forward with brutal hooks meant to break ribs. Kale slipped every one. The crowd roared with each miss. By round 2, Rico's punches became angrier, wider, slower. "You running scared?" Rico barked. Kale said nothing. Round 3. Rico threw a desperate overhand right. Kale ducked beneath it and delivered a compact left to the liver. Rico froze. Then Kale stepped forward with a right cross to the jaw. Rico collapsed face first. The referee counted to 10. Marcus folded his arms proudly. "Your body learns faster than your mind." Kale stared at Rico being helped up. He had ended the fight with 2 punches. That frightened him more than it excited him. Chapter 13. Fear Begins. Videos of Kale spread beyond the city. Gyms began calling Marcus, then hanging up. "He's too dangerous. Our fighters aren't ready. He doesn't fight normal." Marcus slammed the phone down. "Cowards." At sparring sessions, volunteers quit after 1 round. One man threw his gloves down. "It's like hitting smoke." Kale sat silently in the corner afterward. "Am I doing something wrong?" he asked. Marcus blinked. "No." "Then why do they hate me?" Marcus sat beside him. "They don't hate you." He pointed toward the ring. "They hate what they can't control." That night, Kale replayed the words in his head. For once, someone's fear had nothing to do with his weakness. It came from his strength. Chapter 14. Meera's Letter. Marcus returned one afternoon holding an envelope. "No gloves today," he said. Kale looked up. The handwriting on the front was unfamiliar. Inside was a single folded page. "Kale," Marcus said, "he found me. I didn't know where you were. I hoped you were alive. I don't know what to say after all these years. But I remember you carrying me when I was scared." Meera Kale read it 3 times. His hands shook. Memories returned in flashes. A cold shelter hallway. Meera crying. Young Kale promising he would never leave her. Then strangers separating them forever. He lowered the paper. "She remembers me." Marcus nodded. Kale's voice cracked. "I barely remember myself." Marcus placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then we build someone worth remembering." Chapter 15. Rising Through Ranks. Kale entered regional tournaments and tore through every bracket. Round 1 knockout. Round 2 technical stoppage. Finals unanimous decision. He no longer relied only on evasion. His jab sharpened. His counters became surgical. Commentators struggled to explain him. He fights like he already knows what his opponent will do. His timing is unnatural. Where did this kid come from? At the gym, Marcus pushed harder than ever. More road work, more pad rounds, more body conditioning. Kale collapsed after sprints one morning. Marcus stood over him. "You can be gifted and still lazy." Kale rolled onto his feet. Again, Marcus smiled. There it was. The beginning of hunger. Chapter 16. The Entertainer. A flamboyant featherweight named Leo Sparks joined Ironhouse Gym. He wore bright shoes, expensive sunglasses, and never stopped talking. "You're Kale?" Leo asked. "You look like a funeral." Kale blinked. Leo threw an arm around him. "Good news. I fix personalities." That evening, Leo dragged Kale to karaoke. No. Yes. No. You already lost. Minutes later, Kale sat frozen on stage while Leo screamed into a microphone terribly off-key. The crowd laughed. Leo shoved the mic into Kale's hand. Kale quietly muttered 2 words of a song. The crowd cheered louder than for Leo. On the walk home, Leo grinned. You need hobbies. I box. That's trauma, not hobby. Kale almost laughed again. Almost. Chapter 17. Blood in the Ring. In the quarterfinals of a national qualifier, Kale faced veteran brawler Nate Mercer. Nate taunted him from the opening bell. You ain't special. He charged recklessly. Kale countered with a short right hand. Nate fell backward, striking his head on the canvas. Blood spread from a cut near his eyebrow. The arena went silent. Medical staff rushed in. Kale stood frozen in the neutral corner. Nate eventually rose and waved weakly to the crowd, but Kale barely heard the applause. Backstage, he washed blood from his gloves. It was legal, Marcus said. I know. You didn't mean to hurt him. I know. Kale looked at his reflection. Then why do I feel sick? Marcus answered quietly. Because you're still human. Chapter 18. Marcus's past. Rain pounded the gym roof as Marcus sat alone beside the ring. Kale approached. You've looked angry all week, Kale said. Marcus chuckled. That obvious? He took a long breath. Years ago, I trained a heavyweight named Daniel Ross. Strongest man I ever saw. Wanted greatness more than life itself. Marcus's eyes hardened. I kept pushing him. More fights? Bigger fights. He ignored headaches, dizziness, warning signs. Kale listened silently. He collapsed after a title defense. Brain bleed. The room felt smaller. I built a champion, Marcus said, and buried him. Kale asked, why train me then? Marcus looked up. Because this time, I'd like to save one. Chapter 19. National Championship. The National Amateur Championship sold out. Television cameras lined the arena. Scouts filled front rows. Kale advanced through the bracket like a machine. Round of 16, stoppage. Quarterfinal, decision. Semifinal, knockout in under a minute. Fans chanted his name by the finals. At school, former bullies now wore shirts supporting him. Kale ignored them. Backstage, Marcus wrapped Kale's hands. You nervous? No. You should be. Kale looked up. Why? Marcus tied the final knot. Because tonight, you face someone who doesn't fear you. He handed Kale the gloves. Tonight, we find out who you are. Chapter 20. The Prince of Boxing. The final opponent entered first. Adrian Cross. Tall, elegant, smiling, adored by fans. He bowed to the crowd like royalty. The Prince of Boxing, the announcer shouted. Adrian had perfect footwork, perfect manners, perfect reputation. He approached center ring and offered a glove touch. Kale accepted. Adrian smiled warmly. I've wanted this match. The bell rang. Adrian's jab snapped into Kale's guard before Kale could react. Then another. Then a sharp body shot. Kale stepped back, surprised. Adrian glided with him effortlessly. Round 1, clearly Adrian. Round 2, no better. For the first time since entering boxing, Kale was being outclassed. Between rounds, Marcus leaned close. How does it feel? Kale's breathing deepened. New. Marcus grinned. Good. Across the ring, Adrian smiled calmly. For the first time, Kale had met an equal, and the real fight had only begun.
Chapter 21. Equal Speed Round 3. Began with the crowd on its feet. Kale moved first this time, circling sharply to his left. Adrian mirrored him perfectly. Kale jabbed. Adrian slipped outside and answered with a right to the ribs. Kale frowned. Every instinct he trusted, every pattern he read, Adrian seemed to understand. You rely on reactions? Adrian said calmly between exchanges. I rely on preparation. Kale fired a combination. Adrian blocked two, rolled under the third, and clipped Kale with an uppercut. Gasps rippled through the arena. It was the cleanest punch Kale had ever taken. Back in the corner, Marcus pressed ice to his cheek. Well? Kale spat blood into the bucket. He's faster. Marcus shook his head. No, he's earlier. The words struck Kale harder than the punch. Round 4 started. For the first time in his life, Kale stopped reacting and began thinking. Chapter 22, Rage Awakens. Midway through round 4, someone in the crowd shouted, "Fraud!" Another voice laughed, "Ghost Boy can't hide now." The words dragged Kale backward through memory. Hallways, laughter, milk on his shirt, fists in alleys. His breathing changed. Adrian noticed instantly. "Stay calm," he warned. Too late. Kale surged forward with savage force, abandoning his careful defense. Hooks slammed against Adrian's guard. A left cracked through and snapped Adrian's head back. The crowd erupted. Marcus stood in alarm. "Kale, control it!" Kale didn't hear him. Years of buried humiliation poured through every punch. Adrian retreated for the first time all night, feet scrambling. Kale trapped him in the corner and drove a straight right through the guard. Adrian dropped to one knee. The referee began counting. Kale stood over him, chest heaving, eyes burning. At 8, Adrian rose. The bell saved him. Back in the corner, Marcus grabbed Kale by the chin. "That anger can win rounds," he said. "It can also ruin lives." Kale said nothing, but for the first time he understood the monster sleeping inside him. Chapter 23, Empty Victory. Round 5 was short and brutal. Adrian, still hurt, tried to box cautiously. Kale stalked him with cold precision now. Rage sharpened into purpose. A jab split Adrian's nose. A body shot folded him. Then a final right hand sent him sprawling across the canvas. The referee waved it off. Kale Voss was national champion. Fans screamed. Cameras flashed. Reporters rushed the ropes. Marcus lifted Kale's arm. But Kale looked only at Adrian being treated in the opposite corner. Later, in the locker room, the belt sat beside him on the bench. He touched it once. Nothing. Marcus noticed. "You expected fireworks? I thought winning would feel different." Marcus nodded slowly. "Titles don't cure emptiness." Kale stared at the floor. "Then why does everyone chase them?" Marcus smiled sadly. "Because it takes years to learn that." Chapter 24, World Invitation. 2 weeks later, Iron House Gym received a visitor in an expensive suit. Victor Haynes, international promoter. He looked around the old building with visible discomfort. "Charming," he muttered. Marcus disliked him immediately. Haynes opened a folder. "Continental Tournament, televised, big money, bigger exposure." He slid a contract across the desk. "Kale wins there, we move him toward professional rankings." Kale read none of it. "How many fights?" "Enough to become famous." Marcus snorted. "Wrong answer." Haynes smiled thinly. "Mr. Vale, fame follows talent, and your boy has frightening amounts of it." Kale asked one question. "Will it help me find Meera?" Marcus looked at him, surprised. Haynes leaned back. "With money and attention?" "Absolutely." Kale signed. After Haynes left, Marcus sighed. "You just invited sharks." Kale laced his gloves. "Then teach me to bite." Chapter 25, The Beast of Brazil. The Continental Tournament took place in a packed arena overseas. Kale's quarterfinal opponent was Bruno "Titan" Alves, a hulking Brazilian slugger known for smiling when opponents bled. Bruno entered roaring. Kale entered silent. At the opening bell, Bruno charged like a truck. Kale slipped the first wave, but Bruno kept coming. Hooks, shoulders, body blows. The power shook the ring. "Move all you want," Bruno laughed. "I only need one," Kale countered sharply, but Bruno barely blinked. By round 3, Kale landed clean combinations. Bruno grinned wider. Good. Again. In the fourth, Kale timed a perfect step-back right hand. Bruno crashed to the mat. The arena exploded. Bruno rose at 9, still smiling. You hit hard, he said. Now I hit harder. Kale finally understood. Some men feared pain. Others worshipped it. Chapter 26. Broken Rib. Round 5 began ugly. Bruno abandoned finesse entirely and attacked Kale's body with brutal intent. One left hook buried itself beneath Kale's elbow. A crack echoed through his side. Pain shot through his chest like fire. Kale staggered. Marcus cursed from the corner. Rib. Bruno saw it instantly and hammered the same side again. Kale's breathing became shallow. Every dodge hurt, every twist burned. He survived the round by instinct alone. Between rounds, Marcus examined him. You're cracked. I know. We can stop it. Kale shook his head. No. Marcus held his gaze. Why? Kale inhaled sharply through pain. Because before boxing, I survived worse, for no reason. The bell rang. Marcus stepped back. Then suffer for one. Chapter 27. Endurance. Kale stopped trying to outmuscle Bruno. Instead, he outlasted him. He moved in smaller angles, conserving breath. He jabbed the eyes, circled, tied up, escaped, scored. Bruno's punches slowed. His grin faded. By round 9, Titan looked human. By round 10, exhausted. In the 12th and final round, Kale unleashed combinations from impossible positions, sharp, efficient, merciless. The final bell rang. Both men stood trembling. Judges announced unanimous decision, Kale Voss. Bruno approached afterward, ribs heaving. You are crazy, Bruno said. Kale managed a faint smile. You too. Bruno laughed thunderously and hugged him hard enough to nearly break the other rib. Marcus rolled his eyes. Idiots! Both of you! Chapter 28. Reunion backstage after the fight. Kale limped through the hallway. A woman stood near the exit, arms crossed. Dark hair, bright eyes, crooked bangs. Meera. He stopped breathing. She looked older, sharper, guarded. So, she said, you're famous now. Kale could barely speak. Meera, she shrugged. I figured it was you when I saw the interviews. He stepped closer. I looked for you. When? She snapped. After the cameras came? The words hit harder than Bruno ever had. I didn't know how, she laughed bitterly. I waited years for you to come. Kale lowered his head. I'm sorry. Meera's anger flickered into pain. I know. Then she turned and walked away. Kale did not chase her. For the first time, victory tasted like ash. Chapter 29. Learning to Speak. Meera eventually agreed to meet him at a cafe. They sat across from each other in awkward silence. Kale stared at the sugar packets as if they were opponents. Meera sighed. You can fight in front of millions but can't order coffee? I don't like coffee. Then why are you here? He looked up. Because you are. She blinked, caught off guard. Conversation came slowly. She had worked 3 jobs, moved cities twice, trusted no one. He told her about numb years, empty rooms, and Marcus dragging him into life. You really forgot how to feel? She asked quietly. Not forgot, Kale said. Buried. Meera studied him. You still owe me 12 birthdays. I can pay interest. She laughed despite herself. It was small, but it was a start. Chapter 30. The World Champion News. Arrived quickly. The reigning world champion, Viktor Dragov, had called Kale out publicly. On television, Dragov stared into cameras with icy contempt. Kale Voss is talented, he said. Talent is common. Greatness is cruel. His record was terrifying. 38 wins, 34 knockouts, no visible emotion, no wasted motion, Marcus shut off the TV. He's the worst kind. Strong? Kale asked. No, Marcus replied. Certain. Training camp began immediately. Long runs before dawn, 12-round spars, endless defense drills. Meera sometimes watched from the corner, arms folded. Leo shouted encouragement no one requested. One night after everyone left, Kale remained in the ring alone. He pictured Dragoff across from him, a man who believed mercy was weakness. Kale tightened his gloves. Once he might have agreed. Now he wasn't so sure. The world title fight was set, and something greater than a championship waited in that ring. Chapter 31. Marcus Fall's ill training camp was at its peak. Kale hammered the heavy bag in furious rhythm, while Leo counted combinations wrong on purpose. 32! That was 6, Meera said. Numbers are emotional, Leo replied. Marcus paced ringside, stopwatch in hand, barking instructions. Again! Hands higher! Feet alive! Kale launched another combination. Behind him came a sudden crash. Everyone turned. Marcus lay on the floor beside a stool, one hand gripping his chest. Marcus! Kale reached him first. Marcus tried to speak but couldn't. Meera called emergency services while Leo sprinted for the front door. At the hospital, fluorescent lights hummed over a long, silent hallway. Hours later, a doctor emerged. Heart disease, she said. He ignored symptoms for years. Kale stared through the ICU window at the man who had dragged him back into life. Marcus opened his eyes weakly and motioned him closer. No quitting camp, Marcus whispered. You need rest. Marcus smirked faintly. And you need better excuses. Kale's voice shook. I can't do this without you. Marcus gripped his wrist. That's the point. Chapter 32. Final camp Marcus was confined to recovery, banned from the gym. He hated every second. So he called constantly. Kale, your jab looked lazy on video. You watched training footage? I watched it twice. Meera became unexpectedly strict. She timed runs, corrected meals, and threw towels at Leo when he distracted sparring sessions. Leo took it personally. She has coach energy, terrifying coach energy. One evening, after hard sparring, Meera found Kale alone in the ring. You're overtraining. I'm behind. You're scared, she corrected. Kale sat on the canvas. Yes, she sat beside him. When we were kids, storms scared me. You used to stand by the window and pretend you were stronger than thunder. I was lying. I know, she smiled. But it helped. She nudged his shoulder. You don't have to be fearless. Just stand there anyway. For the first time in years, Kale laughed freely. It echoed through the empty gym and healed something old. Chapter 33. World Title Fight. The arena was enormous. Lights swept across 20,000 screaming fans. Viktor Dragoff entered first in white robes, expressionless. Kale entered second in black, followed by Meera, Leo, and a furious Marcus watching from a wheelchair. The bell rang. Dragoff's jab landed instantly. Sharp, heavy, precise. Kale circled. Another jab. Then a right hand split the guard. Round 1 belonged entirely to Dragoff. Round 2 worsened. Kale tried angles, counters, traps. Dragoff dismantled them all with brutal efficiency. By round 4, blood trickled from Kale's eyebrow. Commentators doubted aloud. Voss looks overwhelmed. Dragoff is levels above him tonight. Between rounds, Marcus leaned forward from the corner. Look at his feet, he growled. Kale blinked through sweat. What? Not his hands, his feet. Round 5 began. Kale watched carefully. For the first time, he saw it. Before every right hand, Dragoff's rear heel lifted. Before every jab, his front shoulder twitched. The champion was not invincible. He was readable. Kale smiled through blood. The fight had finally begun. Chapter 34. Heart round 6 shifted. Kale slipped the jab, counter left. The crowd roared. Round 7, he timed the right hand and answered with a hook to the body. Dragoff grunted, the first emotion he had shown all night. Rounds 8 and 9 became war. Both men traded under deafening noise. Kale's ribs screamed. His eyes swelled nearly shut. In round 10, Dragoff landed a crushing uppercut. Kale hit the canvas hard. The referee counted. 1, 2, 3. Kale looked across the arena. Meera stood gripping the ropes. Leo shouted, "Nonsense!" through tears. Marcus glared like a man daring death itself. "Talent dodges punches," Marcus had once said. "Heart stands back up." At 8, Kale rose. The arena exploded. Round 11 belonged to no one, only pain. Then came round 12. Kale no longer fought for belts, fame, revenge, or emptiness. He fought because he wanted to live. He slipped the jab, stepped inside, left to the liver, right to the chin. Dragoff staggered backward. Kale threw one final cross. The champion crashed to the mat. 10,000 voices became one. The referee waved it off. Kale Voss was world champion. Chapter 35, Iron Silence No More. Reporters chased him for weeks. Promoters offered fortunes. Networks demanded title defenses. Kale refused them all. 3 months later, he announced retirement. The world was stunned. Marcus laughed for an hour. Together, they reopened Iron House Gym. Fresh paint, new bags, open doors. Meera handled finances with terrifying efficiency. Leo taught children footwork while dancing badly. Marcus shouted at everyone equally. Kale worked quietly with kids who arrived, scared, angry, invisible. He recognized every look in their eyes. One evening, a bruised teenager entered the gym. "Can you teach me to fight?" the boy asked. Kale wrapped hand tape slowly. "No." The boy looked crushed. Kale stepped into the ring and held the ropes open. "First," he said, smiling warmly, "I'll teach you how to stand." The boy climbed in. Outside, rain tapped softly against the windows. Inside, no one was alone. Epilogue, a framed photo hung near the front desk. Marcus in a wheelchair, pretending not to smile. Meera rolling her eyes, Leo posing dramatically, Kale laughing openly. Beneath it, a small plaque read, "Strength begins when silence ends."